to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. On today's Power Talk Friday, I have a Where Are They Now show. I have Wendy Woloshchuk with me. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Hi, LuAnn.
Wendy is back. It's nearly 2 years since Wendy was on the show. Her original episode was episode number 316. And I haven't done a Where Are They Now show in quite a while. And I wanted to say that Wendy reached out to me and she said to me, you know, LuAnn, it's really crazy. I get colleagues, designers coming up to me anytime I go to market or any type of industry event. And invariably, somebody will say to me, you know, I heard your episode on LuAnn's podcast and it really helped me, or it helped, gave me an idea or whatever. And Wendy went on to tell me that recently, she was listening to the podcast in her car, and you know how the podcast just automatically, loads up whatever is next in the queue, and her own episode came up. And she told me how she sat and listened to her own episode and she thought to herself, so much has changed since then. And then Wendy did what I absolutely love, is she gave me a list of all the things that have changed in her business since then. So that's when I said, oh yeah, we've got to explain this and share this with everybody on the show. So in a few minutes, we're going to do exactly that. But first, I want to remind you about our sponsor, My Doma Studio. My Doma Studio is truly a platform where you can organize your conversations with your vendors and your clients. You can organize the services that you sell and clearly state them in a way that's relatable and understandable to your clients and make it easy for them to purchase and do business with you. My Doma Studio, you can create mood boards. Of course, you have the entire curated cravat line right there in the My Doma Studio platform. So we've got two of our show sponsors working together in the sandbox, which I love. Okay. So, and of course, Wendy, my guest today, is a brand ambassador for My Doma Studio. She has been using the My Doma Studio platform, and a little bit of our conversation today, I'm going to ask her to describe how it helps her be more efficient in her business and help her to work with her clients better. So if you have not signed up for your free trial yet, please go to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. And I'll just add, if you are not familiar with Wendy Woloshchuk and you don't know about her, please go back to episode number 316, where I share more of her bio and about her years in business. But today we're going to get right to all of this great changes that she has created in her business in the last 2 years. So Wendy, thanks so much for coming on the show. I can't wait to get into this with you.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. So Wendy, start right there. You're driving and listening to your own episode and you're mentally what? Like running through and saying, whoa, like this is like, is it somebody else's business that I'm hearing about?
Exactly. So not that I try to listen to myself, but it popped up, like you said. And I instead of fast forwarding, I just started listening, and I couldn't believe that it's only been 2 years and the difference in my business. It's really, I hired some coaches I worked with. I went to your Power Talk Friday and LuAnn Live and just learned from all of the speakers that were there. And then, like you always say, implemented what I learned. So I really I mean, I nailed down, I had a process, but it was a little bit fluid. It wasn't documented and nailed down so that it was exactly the same with every single client. And it really had to be, because I ended up hiring somebody. So now I have somebody that works for me, and she needed to know what the process was. And unless it was nailed down and documented, she had no way of knowing it.
Right.
So I did that. I upped my prices. The story that I've heard you tell, and other people have heard you tell, like, up your price now, not January 1st.
Right.
And I've doubled my money.
Yeah.
I've doubled. I looked at I said to you before, in 2017, from 2017 to 2018, I increased by 35% my net profit. And then from 2018 to 2019, I doubled it.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yep.
amazing. I love that. I absolutely love that. And you know what? It's funny because I remember, we're going to pick apart a lot of these details here, but I just also want to share with you about maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks maybe, might have been sooner, after LuAnn Live in 2019. I remember you're coming into the LuAnn Nigara and Friends Facebook group and posting, hey guys, if your head is swimming with all of the information that we got at LuAnn Live, I just want to share with you the outline of my action steps, the things that I'm doing, the way I'm taking the action on these different things. And you broke it down. And I remember reading that thinking, whoa, how helpful that was. I mean, that was such a gift, because that is the it's so funny because LuAnn Live is so different than Power Talk Friday, right? So LuAnn Live is just like, rah, it's like a fire hydrant of information, right?
It is. It is.
And I have to say, like, I don't feel boastful saying this, because it's not necessary. It's not my information. It's me just putting together these people. It is my co-authors in the book. And so I'm just proud of the things that they're able to share and help. So but it is just a fire hydrant of information. And the biggest obstacle with taking in something like that is coming back so overwhelmed that you do nothing, or just coming back and simply feeling great but doing nothing. Like, you're not even there's people that leave an event like that and are just on such a high that there's no negative, but they don't do anything, right? And I thought that was so helpful, because for anyone that was overwhelmed, you gave them a path. And for anyone that really was like, oh, wait, we have to do something, was like, hello, little tap on the shoulder.
You have homework.
That's it. And so the thing is, to me, that's the LuAnn Live, is the fire hydrant of information. And so the accountability is very much on you as the participant to, do just what you did. Collate your thoughts, make your action list, and do it. Whereas Power Talk Friday is a little different. Power Talk Friday, there is, maximum of 18 designers in a space, and often it's 7, 8, 9, 10. Of course, it's growing each time, but I literally will cap it at 18. There's not a chance I will take more than 18. And we're together all day, and there's lots of one-on-one opportunity, and every single participant gets the 1 hour follow-up call with each of either there's 5 or 6 business coaches in a Power Talk Friday event. So the accountability and the brainstorming and the planning is much more it's much more thought out, with a strategy, number one, when you leave, by the time you leave, but number two, in the weeks and months following. So, but you've done both, right?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. And I think when you go to Power Talk Friday, there's a ton of information, but it's a little bit less overwhelming because it's more specific, and you've been given specific tasks on those subjects. And there aren't as many coaches there, or as many presenters at the Power Talk Friday for it. So you get a ton of great information, but when you leave Power Talk Friday, you know what you need to do.
That's the thing.
Specifically.
Right, because you have that chance to say it's not the big picture view where you have to take the information and kind of figure out how does it work in your business. You get to go right up to any one of us and say, how am I going to do this in my business? You know what I mean? Like, I love the idea, but here's my website. What do you want me to do? Or here's my services, my charge, my fees. What can I do? Right.
Right. You have those round tables where you have the opportunity to ask whatever you want and get the answer.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it. Okay. So some of the things that you did, some of the standout changes that you made in the business. Number one, in 2 years, you have fully put your business to a process, which is so key. Tell us about the before and after of running a project when before you knew how to do it, but now you have your enunciated process for doing it.
Right. So last May, actually, I hired my assistant, and it was just me before. So, I knew everything in my head. I knew the steps that I took, but she came in and she had no idea. So I started before I hired her to create that manual, right? The employee manual, or we call it now the Standards of Excellence Manual.
That's
from Ashley Uhl.
Love it. I love Ashley.
Yeah. So I started to write the whole process down. And then actually after she had worked for me for about a month, I had her write down what she thought the process was.
Right.
And then we sat down and compared them back and forth. And there were so many steps that she was missing that she didn't know about. So we actually went through and wrote down every single step in the process, from when a potential client contacts you to when I send a happy birthday to your room card 5 years from now. Yeah. So it's every single step along the way. And now that is in the binder. Everybody knows it. And what if I forget a step? That's highly likely. There's 25 steps. So even I will refer back to it and I'll say, hey, did you do this part? But we kind of worked on it together to write it down.
Well, I love the idea of working on it together because it proves the point of I don't want you to give me directions to your own house because you're going to forget a step. But your assistant or your first hire or any hire is also going to forget a step too because of maybe not understanding the entire process, or us as the one teaching knows it so well that we have forgotten this one step, when we taught it to them. And I'm going through the process at WindowWorks right now. I've mentioned it a couple of times in the last several weeks on the show that, we have an operations binder that's literally 2.5 inches thick. However, the operations binder is from 1978. So.
Things might have changed.
And the thing is, the core systems have not changed, but, there were no faxes then, let alone email, right? And of course, we have also created many, many more systems. And so I had the opportunity this past year of having a new hire. And so I was like, this is my favorite way to revise the systems is through a new hire because it is those two sets of eyes. And the other reason that I love it is because if I'm going to sit down and teach my new hire, like we have a system for logging in fabric that we receive from interior designers, right? Mm-hmm. And on face value, it seems pretty simple. The fabric comes in, what side mark, what client, what designer,
it's really 10 steps.
Yes, it is. You know what I mean? Yep. And the thing was, I would come in every Monday and there would be fabric rolls there. And I finally, after like a month and a half, I'm like, I don't get it. How is the same fabric roll here? Oh, well, so I'm like, no. This is an everyday non-negotiable event. This is an everyday event. This is not a when I have time, when I'm not busy. Of course, this is my inside voice. My outside voice was, I think we're not clear on the steps for the fabric log. Let's review.
Exactly.
And I said to her, you know what? Do me a favor. Write out the fabric log steps. And when she did it, and I was like, well, no wonder she's not doing it right. I haven't taught it to her properly.
Exactly.
And then I filled it all in, and then we reviewed it, and I said, here, please keep this by your desk. Do it every day. And that's the other benefit. Once I know, and you know, that it's perfect, Now I don't have to sit there and take 20 minutes every day and go, I'm sorry, I think you're still doing it wrong. Let's review. It's like,
Exactly.
Get your cheat sheet out and do it. Again, inside voice.
Right. That's
Right.
the same thing. When we receive product at the office, what happens to it?
Right.
So we've ordered it, we've tracked it, it came, then we need to open it and check it and look at it. Then we need to log it in my Doma under their product list, which is now proposal, and then make a note of where it is and then put it in the bin on the shelf labeled with that person's name.
Right.
But it's, a bunch of steps.
It is. It's that that's the minutia, right? And the minutia is the thing that saves the day. And so I love it. And so you do this. So you do this process. And Wendy, one of the big obstacles to our colleagues doing this process is that it's very time consuming. So for me, I started the first week of January and I'd spend 2 hours every Monday and taking a new process and just comparing it to the original operations manual, comparing it to the way we do things now and redoing it. How did you do it so that you bit off this big chunk of work?
Yep. So on Mondays, we have Office Monday. I had that before I hired her, and we still have Office Monday. So Monday morning, we have a meeting, and then we did time blocking. So part of her time blocks on Mondays was working on that manual. She took what I had written, and then she also added to that, and then we edited it and put it back in the manual. So we would probably spend about 2 hours, like you said, every Monday until it was complete. And it's still an ongoing process. Sure. There are still things that come up and I'm like, is that in the manual?
Right.
And she'll say, yes, it is, Wendy. Or she'll say, no, we need to work on that.
Right.
But yeah, so it's pretty set right now. And it's not just our process too. In that manual, it's, what is expected of each employee, including me, what we believe in, how we work, how we deal with clients, how we treat clients, how we speak to clients, how does a phone call look? What does it look like? What does it sound like when you're speaking with a client? What should be in your email? How do you greet them? How do you sign the email? All of that.
Yeah.
So that I said to her, so if you fall off the face of the earth tomorrow, somebody else could come in here and grab that manual and just get to work. And I don't have to go through this again.
Right.
With them.
That's the truth. And, and I'm just going to share with you, I use it a more positive, analogy. I'm like, if you win the multi-billion-dollar lottery tonight and don't come back.
That's probably a better thing to say. Probably.
Right. I will say that often. It usually comes up about, I would tell you at least once a month, if not more often. I'm like, I don't know, but if you win the lottery, will I know where to find this? And they just look at me. I'm like, if I don't know how to find it, then that's not good, And
all right, I'm going to switch to the lottery instead of falling off the earth.
I figure there's a chance they'll share some of it with me if I'm programming it for them. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. You are such a great boss, Lou. Here. Oh, man. No, I love that. And so, it's funny that we have the same thing. We have the job descriptions of every person's job, in there. And like my cousin Eileen Hahn, who is an expert in training and developing teams, her thing is not only do you have the job description, but she has us have, and it sounds like similar to you, but with her words is, what does exceptional look like for this job? And so we had each of our employees. I did the job description. Then we did the same thing. We sat down. I sat down with each employee, not one-on-one. Are there things in here that you feel like are part of your job description that I've left out? Are there things that you need tweaked? Blah, blah, blah. And then I had them take that job description, and I said, now write a document for me that describes what does it look like if you're doing this job exceptionally. You know what I mean? Right. And that is powerful because now you have your employee describing to you what is a rock star in this position. And then we took that and edited it and put that as part of the packet too. So very, very good. Yeah. It's awesome. And I love, don't think I didn't hear that in there. I never heard this before. This is a great idea. Happy birthday to your room. So
yes.
I love that. That's a really creative way to get back in front of your client every year. It's cute and it's not like expected like it's their birthday or it's Mother's Day. It's unusual.
Right. I think I did a course with Ashley Uhl on the client experience, and I think that was part of that. I'm not positive, but so a year, I mean, when the job is over, they get a thank you note anyway and a thank you gift. But 1 year after, they get a card that says, "Happy birthday to your room. Hope you're still enjoying it." But the key here is in 5 years and in 10 years, they get another one that offers a refresh. So after 5 years, their room probably needs a little refresh, right?
Right. So is the plan that you do happy birthday 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is the offer, or is just 1, 5, and 10? Don't mind me in the weeds.
I do 1, 5, and 10.
Okay.
1, 5, and 10. I mean, I could send it every year, but I feel like that might be a little much.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's great. Ashley is so creative with coming up with ideas and ways to elevate the client experience. She really, really, I adore her. And I'll have to put her episode number in the show notes because she has been on the show as well. So look for the show notes for that. Okay. All right. So you also tell us some of the other changes that created this big revenue change, right? This is the thing, like locking your business down created the revenue change.
Yes. Yep. So I worked with Nancy Ganzikoffer. So I hired her as a coach. I worked with her for most of last year. So she really helped me. First of all, she helped me with my numbers, which I needed. I'm a creative. I'm not great at numbers. It is not my thing. Right. But last year I had an accountant before, but honestly, they did my taxes and that was about it. Right. So last year I hired a bookkeeper. So between Nancy and my bookkeeper, I became very knowledgeable about my numbers and realized that I could have been making more money. So, I mean, who doesn't want to make more money? Right. So I narrowed that down. I upped my hourly rate went up after I spoke with you, and my consultation rate went up. I think they've gone up 2 or 3 times since you and I spoke. But they went up gradually, and then so I made more money that way, but also my markup on product went up as well. So whatever I mark up 40 to 45% just across the board.
Love it.
Unless, I will add a caveat, unless it's something, which I try not to do, but if it's something they can find online, I will look and I will make the price for me just a little bit less so that they want to buy it from me and not online. But I also tell people that's the service is included in that as well. Right. So that has changed for me as well. So my percentage went up there. So that's part of my profit as well. And also,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
My assistant too. A year ago, I was scared to hire an assistant, right? I didn't know if I could afford it, but so I needed to go through my numbers to know that I could afford it. But also she is required to do at least 2 hours of billable work per week, so that really her salary is covered by those hours.
Right. Well, and that's, what Kimberly Merlitti said when she was on the show. When you hire an assistant, but within the first month, they should be paying for themselves. You know what I mean? If you structure it right to what your point is. So how many hours a week does she work for you?
She was working 21 at the end of last year, and she just went down to 15 just because of what's going on in the world. But she's at 15 hours working from home.
Okay. Right, and she only has to be billable 2 hours a week for that to be a break even for you.
Yes, because she gets billed out. My hourly rate is the same. Whether she's doing it or I'm doing it, it doesn't matter. It's always the same.
Love it. I love it. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. And so one of the things I want to say is, if you remember the episode with Sally Williams, she expressed the same exact thing, that I want to say hers was also a 35% increase in revenue by just changing her markup and going back to hourly. So I'm not going to sit here and debate flat fee and hourly. It's just not going to happen. Okay.
I do both, so I'm not going to argue with you.
Well,
anyway.
and the thing is, I whatever works for you, whatever makes sense is, terrific. Yep. I totally 100% agree with that. But to me, that's like, do I have a tablecloth at the restaurant or not? Like, I don't know. You're the restaurant. Decide. Like, whatever. Right? Just make money. Just make money. Just keep the table clean and just make money. So I don't care if there's a tablecloth or not. But Sally Williams had the same thing. After something like 20, 25 years in business, she just moved her margin to a set margin. That's it. No matter what, this is the margin. And she upped her hourly rate. And that is, Claire has done that example for us 1,000 times. Do $20 an hour times, 10 hours a week times 4 weeks a month times a year. It's tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the thing is, the reality of it is that everyone knows that I'm always a proponent of raising your rate, because I know, and the reason why I will get pushback, Wendy, sometimes. I will get pushback when people will say to me, well, what makes you think everybody could raise their rate? I just did a live presentation recently here in New York, and I actually joked with them. They're my friends. I love this group of designers, but after about 20 minutes, I'm like, I've never had so many people push me back on raising a rate. They spent 20 minutes, because it was a small enough group that we were like talking, even though it was a presentation. I'm like, you guys are so committed to not your age. Like, this is all right. Let's go. Gloves off. All right. Let's come coming back at you. Right. But the thing is that the reason that I believe that any person I speak to can raise their rate by at least $15 is because what I've learned that almost to a one, every designer undervalues their service. That's a given. Okay. And of course we're talking if you're baby or rising designer, and sometimes seasoned, by the way, seasoned, right? But the other thing is you've gone through this process of reaching out and of getting advice and coaching, attending LuAnn Live, attending a Power Talk Friday tour event, hiring Nancy Ganzekaufer, hiring Ashley Uhl, and we're going to hear how you also, hired Nicole Heimer. And the thing about this is when you do these things, when you're investing in yourself and your business, and you are actually improving your business back-end process, now it's a no-brainer to raise the rates because you actually are worth more, right, Wendy?
Exactly. You're worth more.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have the chops to put behind it too. I mean, you can't be a newbie and charge $400 an hour.
Exactly.
But eventually, if you have that process set and your client experience is good and your work is good, then you should be charging for that. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep. And the thing that nobody believes, including myself, I did not believe, and I probably would have given you pushback too, but when you up your rates, it really is true that those clients that are shopping you and are doing DIY and spending their weekend on Pinterest and texting you pictures, those clients fall away. They really do. And they're replaced by clients that are busy and don't have the time to do it and just want you to do it for them. So your job gets easier and you're getting paid more.
Right. Well, because this, it is so logical. I mean, it's just logical. The person who has time and doesn't have money is the person who's looking for, really? It's $85 an hour? It's, you want to charge me 25 cents for that? You know what I mean? But the person who is busy is typically, making a decent living because they're, busy kind of goes with, making a decent living and values it. I can't tell you the number of times in my own life I will say, I can do this, and then I'll be like, right, and what will it cost you per hour to pay somebody who does this for a living, and what could you make in that hour? The simplest analogy is housekeeping, right? The simplest analogy is it's the number one way to find more time to make more money is to pay for housekeeping, and it is to
100%.
pay for like food delivery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I had, the kids in the house and I had to cook every blasted night, like thank God those days are over. You know what I mean? But, we were running, I didn't have the podcast then, but of course we were running Window Works. And I was like one of the first early adopters of go online to Stop and Shop, place your whole order and pick your delivery time. And I would literally do the weekly grocery, $100, $200, $300 worth of groceries delivered every 8 or 10 days because I could do the thing for 20, and what happens is, same as last order? Yep, same as last order? Yep, we all eat the same crap every week, right? Who changes, right?
I wish they had that out in the woods here.
Oh, see, they don't have it.
We don't have that. No,
think about
But I do. It's true. I had that conversation with my husband when we hired someone to clean.
Yeah.
I said, I can pay her $20 an hour and I can go out and work and make $180 an hour.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Or I can stay home and clean.
Right. For 4 hours.
Do the math.
Yes. Right. And the thing is, and so that's, I love this whole thing because it is tapping into the busy people that recognize that they want something done nicely and they don't have the time to do it. And they are making those evaluations. But I have to tell you, what you have learned is that people that value an expertise get wiggy when it doesn't seem like you value it.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
So if I come to your website and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what a designer costs. I'm thinking it's probably expensive to hire a designer. And I get there and it's not expensive at all. My brain goes, what?
Get what you pay for.
Right, right. And that doesn't mean that like me entering the marketplace, I might not be in the market for a $450 an hour designer, but once I come to a certain stage of my life where I'm busy and have a little bit of extra money to spend on services and things that I value, it does have to feel like, okay, that seems like a little reach, but it's doable. It can't feel like, really? $20 an hour? That's great. Right? I mean, it's like a mindset, right?
It's true. It's like if you buy a shirt at Walmart or you buy a shirt at Nordstrom. What do you expect from the shirt you bought at Walmart?
Right.
I don't expect it to be great.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
It was cheap. I don't expect it to be great.
Right. It's going to wash it 4 times. We got it for the family picnic because we're all supposed to wear blue to the family picnic.
Right. Exactly.
Or the Christmas, ugly sweaters. Yeah. We only have to get this through one day.
Right. I want people to expect me to be great.
Yes. Yes. I love it. And you learned that. You were a designer who was concerned about that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I live, like we talked about before, I live in the middle of nowhere. 95% of my clients have never worked with an interior designer before. And, they've been working on their own house. They haven't hired a designer. So I don't live where I can charge $400 an hour, but I do live where I can charge $180 an hour instead of $75 an hour.
Right. And 2.5 years ago, you thought it was the other. You thought that you had to stay under the 100 because of where you lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and by the way, we're just going to say it one more time. It's not a matter of just putting the price tag on it. You have also dramatically changed the deliverables that you give to a client when they work with you.
100%.
See?
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
The thing. Yeah.
They get thank you notes. They get Friday update emails every Friday. They are fully in the process.
Right. And that's a great point to make. It's because what happens is if I contract with you professional to professional, and you are really good at what you do, but everything is loosey-goosey, then I am starting to feel like, wait, I'm paying you like almost $200 an hour, and I feel like I've got to check up on you for my statuses. And when I do check up with you, I can almost hear in your voice like, oh, yeah, forgot to do that. Like, that's going to make me crazy. Because now I'm going to feel like I got taken advantage of. I feel like I shopped in a price point that I was hiring a professional. And if it's not delivered, now you're going to get, some ruffled feathers. But when every single week you're ahead of me and you're proactive and everything seems locked down, I'm just like, yeah, best money I ever spent. Right.
You paid for a service and an experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You didn't just pay for furniture.
Right.
You could have bought furniture on your own.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, so tell me, Wendy, that's a little thing in there because, not everybody, lives and works in a big metropolitan area. There's a lot of designers like you that are in these more rural areas and literally will say, my area will not support that model. Tell us, what did you do to transition and how did you leave behind the DIY client that did not appreciate your value and attract and call out? Because we know that what you did in the back end to support that decision, but what did you do on the front end to call them out so that they knew you were there?
Yep. I would say before my blog and my live videos on Facebook, I would say before those were kind of geared towards DIY, and I had to change that voice. I had to change that so that I was talking to people that would hire me instead of talking to people that would do it on their own.
Okay.
So the voice kind of changed in my blog and in my videos. I mean, some of my videos are still a little bit DIY because you're establishing your expertise as well. But the blog really changed a lot. It changed to be speaking to people that would hire me and showing my process behind the scenes and showing what it's like to work with a designer instead of talking to DIYers.
So give us an example, Wendy, of the difference in the content. So, you just explained it broadly. I get it, but get me in the weeds on something.
So let me try to think of a blog post. So like the recent blog posts have been walking you through the process of a living room that we redid, right? So it's showing you the room before, and it's walking you through exactly what our process is and how we came to choose that sofa and why that sofa is a custom sofa and things like that, instead of telling them how to do the room on their own. So before, the blogs would be like, 7 steps to create the room that you want. Instead, now it's the steps that we took to create that room.
And how do you actually present the nuance of that? Because 7 steps to create the room you want is, on some level, this could be the same of the 7 steps I did. Mm-hmm. So how do you differentiate that nuance there? Is it simply just the title because of the Google search?
Well, no, it's also because of the voice in the blog, and exactly, like I said, telling them my process instead of telling them how to do it themselves.
So you're speaking from authority.
Yes, and they can't order they can order a custom sofa on their own, but they don't know how to put it together.
Right.
And, and going through a bathroom remodel, things like that.
So are you saying, like, in a bathroom remodel, is it a matter of, instead of saying, hey, when you go to the plumbing supply, make sure the spread on your faucet matches the spread on your sink? Or is it like, that kind of detail stays out? It's like, we selected this type of faucet because it coordinates with this. Like, get me in there.
It's both. Yeah, it's both. It's technical too, because honestly, part of the point is to overwhelm them.
Right.
Because, when you go to a consult or when you write a blog, you want to overwhelm them with the process so that they hire you.
Mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both, I would say.
Okay. I love it. I'm going to have to read a couple to really understand it. So that's good. No, I get the idea and the concept, but I'm very curious how you actually achieved it, because clearly it's working. And so it was sort of in one way, it was a rebrand of your business.
Yes.
And is that what you worked with Nicole Heimer from Curio Electro on? Some of this voice and that branding? Tell us about that experience. You did her online course, right?
I did her. So last year I had worked with a copywriter to change the voice on my website so that it really felt more like me. Mm. And so that when, potential clients were going to my website, they would really feel like they were getting to know me, as opposed to just, the technical aspects of hiring a designer. Mm-hmm. So then this year I don't know if it was this year. I don't know. Within the past 6 months, I did the course with Nicole about branding to do. Part of it was voice and part of it was also, colors and that kind of stuff on your website, but also clean it all up and make it more aesthetically pleasing and to give the information that would speak to my ideal clients.
I love it. So, and I have to say, the video on your website, it's a great video. You go through different aspects of working with you and what your philosophy is on business and design and everything. But what stuck out to me was I love whenever you take the elephant and put it right in front of everybody. And you said, if you've been intimidated to hire an interior designer before, right? Talk about that a little bit. Tell us about that.
Right. Because everybody has that whole thought that the designer's coming in her spike heels and she's fancy and she's going to make you spend a ton of money, and then your home is going to feel like her instead of like you. Right. That's what people, and like I said, the people that I work with haven't worked with an interior designer. So they're thinking that. So putting videos on my website and doing videos on Facebook are really ways for them to see me and to actually feel like to know what it would feel like to work with me, that it's not that I'm going to probably show up in jeans and sneakers,
Right.
because that's who I am. And it's more down to earth. And though that's who my ideal client is too. That's
Right.
what they want.
See, what I love about this is that very often, and do you tell me if you've noticed this in conversations with colleagues at different events, that there will be this sense of, and I've been told more times than I really like, is, well, in my area, it's really hard because people are very down to earth. Maybe they'll say that it's a blue collar area, or it's a conservative area, or they'll use all of these descriptors of people in my area don't really hire designers. They're not accustomed to it. And the thing is, you're proving that wrong. And the reason is because people are people, and whether you live a conservative life, maybe I'm sure you've discovered more than us that live in crazy places outside of like New York City is, people can have gabillions in the bank and live and look like, Jed Clampett, you know what I'm saying? But when they hit on something that they place value on, then they have the funds to do it. But they have to understand the value of getting it first. And that's what you're doing. You're connecting and you're saying, I get it. You're worried. You think that hiring a designer means that you're like, A, you're going to be ripped off, and B, it's going to look like who lives in this house, right?
Right. And that's what we are known for, creating personalized homes. That's kind of my thing. So when my clients walk into the room when it's done, there is always at least one thing that speaks directly to them that is super personalized, whether it's a book that on their coffee table, that's something that they're interested in, or, a cutting board. One time I did letters in a client's kitchen that said BAM, because it was a reference to Emeril Lagasse, because he used to watch that show with his kids every night. And now his kids are grown and gone. So it's something personal in that space. So I like to touch on that as well, so that they know that the house they're getting is theirs. And it's true. I live in a blue collar community. My husband, owns an excavation company, drives a bulldozer every day. So, and that is how most of my community is. So the thing is, the people that are saying that it's hard and that, people are down to earth, so they just describe their ideal client.
Right.
So they know who that client is. That's who they should be speaking to.
Yeah.
So I'm not speaking to New York on my website.
Right.
I'm speaking to Munson. I'm speaking to the people that live here.
Right. Well, and
that have
that's
money to hire me, though.
Yes. Right. No, but the thing is, I feel like when designers who live in areas that quote unquote, do not seem like the ideal place for interior designers to be earning a living, I think inherent in that is that you're making a flat judgment that everybody that lives in your area, because they have a different set of values, that those values don't include wanting their home to look the best it could be.
Right. They still love their house.
Yes.
They still love their home. And they invest in it, whether they invest in a designer or not. People still invest in their home. They buy furniture, they paint the walls, they buy accessories, they go to Home Goods, and they don't know what the heck to buy.
Right.
So they're still investing in their house, and you have to find a way to speak to them. And it's not up to you to decide whether they can afford you or not.
Right. You know me. Don't save your clients' money.
No, it's up to you. That's the other thing I changed too. The price is the price, period.
Right.
And if you can't afford it, like you always say, then we'll find something that you can't afford, but I'm not going to lower the price.
Right. I fully believe that you disrespect your client if you make an assumption that they can't afford something. That's not your job. There's almost an argument to be made that the more conservative a person's financial outlook is, the more valuable you are as an interior designer. Because now they're not spending money on mistakes, on sofas that don't fit and chairs that look silly and everything else. So you can really talk to that. You have X amount of dollars you're going to spend. Make every dollar worth the money that it was, right?
Exactly. I say that in the video that you mentioned on my homepage. It says, in hiring an interior designer is an investment, and it's not cheap. But in the end, you could have a sofa that has performance fabric that you didn't know that you could have. It's going to last you longer. And I know what area rug that you should be purchasing, so it'll last for your dog and your kids and your friends spilling red wine on it. So that's how I speak to that on my website. And I have a perfect example of that. A couple of weeks ago, I met with a client, and they're doing an addition on their house with a kitchen, and they thought that they were going to spend $80,000. So then they said every single thing they wanted in that kitchen. And so we did up a plan for them, and I said, listen, every single thing that you want and the size that you want is $160,000. That's what it is. So we're going to start here, and then we can whittle it down, but this is what you asked for. So do you know what they did?
What?
They doubled their budget.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
They happens all the time.
It does.
Yeah.
Right. Because the funny thing is the initial $80,000 number was probably just a guess.
It was.
And it was a hope and a guess.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly. And they're going to the bank for the money. What if I had let them go to the bank for the $80,000?
Right. Right.
Then they're like, well, I can't get what I want.
Right. Right. And the thing about it is to your point, the time to have that conversation is right then. Don't agree to 80. Know in your heart of hearts, that you can't deliver it. And then you have this tug of war, this push and pull. Like you show them an appliance and they're like, oh, this is the one I want. And you're like, well, we kind of should get this one. But they're not understanding why you keep trying to cut everything because you weren't clear on the front. Right.
Exactly.
And so the thing is at the front is because there will be clients that will say, no, I'm sorry. I said 80 and I meant it. Right. But then you're like,
not getting a 20 by 28 kitchen edition.
Exactly. And it's like, what part of this do you want off the plate? Just you tell me. This is 10, this is 20, this is 2,000. Let's a la carte this right down.
Exactly. That's what we did. So
yeah. I love that.
But if I had decided that their budget was their budget, then, I would have lost money. They wouldn't have had what they wanted. So
see, that's where that comes into that. Don't save your clients money. That's where that comes in, because if I want the kitchen that I've described and I just think it's 80, it's in this exact case. I have the 160 and that's what I want. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
I love it. It's very it's challenging to navigate these things, but again, I have to go back to when you have your back end buttoned up, it's so much easier to just be factual on the front end. That just can't happen, right?
Exactly. That's not how we work.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we work.
And it's from your experience of having taken it all and put it down in paper and knowing, yes, there is no way to carve $80,000 off of this $160,000 because you know from knowledge, it's not a guess.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I said you can do, your kitchen will be half the size. You need your ceilings lower. You need less cabinets. You can't have that island, but you do have to know that. It's true.
Right.
Exactly. It's not up to me to decide their budget.
Right.
It's up to them to decide their budget.
However, I love the responsibility and the ownership of helping them understand ahead of time what is included in a budget that they think is their budget. You see?
Absolutely. Because on my questionnaire, it asks people their budget. I would say that gets filled in 2% of the time. People never.
That's right. I don't want to tell you. You're going to spend it if I tell you.
Yeah. And if they do, they don't want to tell you for whatever reason. So I come back with the presentation, giving them everything they want.
Right.
If they want something less, then we go from there.
Right. Let's take a few minutes in talking about how you have broken up your services, Wendy, and that you utilize the MyDoma Studio platform in order to make these services clear and understandable and buyable from your clients.
Yep. So on my website, it's my services, which I worked with. Anyone that looks at it will know I worked with Nancy on that. But all of those services on my services page on my website link to MyDoma. So it lists them. It says, consultation, full service design, online design, whatever. But then it has a button that says find out more, and it goes directly over to MyDoma. So if they want to find out more about a consultation, they click that. It takes them over to my Doma. It's set up as a package. That's what it's called on the
God
back end.
forbid.
That's what it's called on the back end.
On the
It's
back
called
end.
A package.
On the front end, it's called a service.
Exactly. It's
inside
a service.
voice, outside voice. I love it.
Exactly. So it takes them to my Doma because going through it that way, it's automated. So someone clicks it, they read about the consultation, they purchase the consultation right on there. Once they've purchased, there's a questionnaire. It links to my appointment calendar, and then they are in the system. They're in my system. Then they get an email that confirms that, and we go from there. So it's easy. And then if they end up doing full service design, that consultation gets turned into a custom client on my Doma. I'm trying to describe it so if people don't have my Doma, they understand it.
Yes, right.
But it just gets transferred over, and there turns into a project.
Okay.
So a custom project, and then they can sign their contract right on there, and we proceed working through my Doma.
And so what I love is, again, it's having put in the back end work so that when somebody does something, your calendar's there. They get something, does something, they get an email, they get a questionnaire. You're not having to do all of these steps separately and say, oh, this just happened, that just happened, I got to remember to do 15 things. It's like, no, you're on an install day, or you're on a designer for a day, making money, having a great life, or you're on the lake doing whatever you do, and your system is doing all this stuff in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
so it's set up as that, but it's a service. It goes right from my website over to the MyDoma website.
And when they get to the MyDoma website, Wendy, it's not MyDoma Studio there. It's branded to the branding continues to details interiors, right?
Yep. It's details.mydomastudio.com.
Right.
That's the website. But there's also on my website, up in the very top right-hand corner, it says client login. So, and that, if you click that, it takes you over to my Doma.
Okay.
So people don't even have to remember that.
Right. But the idea is I still feel like I'm working with Wendy. I didn't go, wait, who's this? What am I doing? The branding stays in line.
100%. They have no idea that they went to, unless they looked at the address.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't know.
Right.
Nope.
And there's no objection to that. It's no different than when I go to your calendar and all of a sudden the URL says Acuity or Calendly or whatever the heck it says. It's like it's just the platform that's utilizing this stuff.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, they think it's my website. They don't know.
No.
They don't know that they've left. It's seamless, and it has my logo the same as on my website.
Right. It just feels like you went to a different page on your website is the way to describe it, actually. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. And then do you allow, because I know there's difference of opinion on this and different designers do it different ways. Do you allow somebody to book an initial consult with you before you have a discovery call with them, Wendy? Or do you have
I do.
You do?
Yep.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are a lot of those clients that fell away that couldn't hire me for full service design. A lot of them will do consultations only.
Okay.
Like a one-off consultation. So my consultation, $3.99 for 90 minutes. We'll go there. My assistant and I will go there. She will write down every single suggestion. I will give them every bit of information that is in my head.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then they get the notes from that right at the end of the consult.
What I love is that you call it a consult/design work session. You see, you just again, I filter a lot of this as a consumer when I get ready for my interviews with you guys. Even you, my good friend who I've known, I still went all through your website before we got on the call. You know what I mean? And as a consumer, that hit me as a great way to let me know, oh, we're going to get some work done here. This is going to happen. Plus, by the way, on your website, it tells me all the things that you're going to do on the consultation, which I love. It explains your Nancy G ladder of services. If I get this service, this is going to happen. If I want a little bit more, maybe that's over in this service.
Exactly. Spelled right out. It says a consultation design work session is for you if.
Right.
All those things. But I do.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't mind having one-off consultations. To me, those are a great way to have a little bit of filler money.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To me, I love doing consultations. So
And that is the point, isn't it? That is, let's see, for me, when I'm working with designers, coaching them one-on-one, I will ask if they're like, I'm having a hard time with cash flow, or, blah, 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 or I need to do this, or need to do that. And I will say to them, how do you feel about one-off consultations? And some designers don't like the process, don't enjoy it, don't want to go in and do it. But any designer that's like, well, I'm okay with it, I'm like, all right, then let's make some money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's the fastest, quickest way. You do 2 a week, that's $800 a week for your consults. I mean, that's crazy not to do that.
And a lot of times people will say, that's another question in my questionnaire. Do you plan on completing the work on your own, or are you going to hire details to do it? And a lot of times they'll say, I'm going to complete it on my own, and they end up hiring me.
Right.
I think they put it there because they're nervous and they don't really know. And so go in and overwhelm them. That's another point. Overwhelm them with information and ideas and things that you could do. And then they're like, I can't do that. Right.
And the whole reason that they put it on there and say, I'm going to do it myself, is to put the brakes on so that they don't feel like you walk through the front door selling from the moment you walk in the door. It's like, right. And that's okay. That's okay. It's actually a great mechanism, right? It's actually a great mechanism to put them at ease, right? Yeah. And to not feel like, because the fact of the matter is you will do the one-off and leave if they really want you to. Right, exactly.
But that's a challenge too, to me. If they say no, they're going to do it on their own. To me, that's a challenge. I'm going to go in there and win them over. Because I'm a people person. I'm going to win them over, and they're going to hire me.
Yeah. Well, I recently talked with Dina Holland. And she was telling me, now she's, full service luxury designer. And with the whole thing that's going on with COVID-19 and everything, she was explaining how she said, you know what, I'm home with my kids. Let me put it out there that I'll do some FaceTime consults. And that's not normally her bread and butter, but there's this whole environment now calls for some creative pivoting. It calls for some ideas of thinking out of the box. And she said that most people did the 1 hour, a 1.5 hour consult, whatever it was, same thing, paid through the website, through her link and everything like that. And she said, but there were enough people that said, and by the way, now that you've filled my brain with all these ideas, can you do them for me? And of course, in this environment, she needed to move it right into e-design because you can't go out and visit people and so forth like that. But the point is, you bring all your value. Look, the inside voices, we go and we overwhelm them. The outside voices, we give away all the information. We say all the things that will make their home nicer, more comfortable, more functional, all the things. And then, honestly, most of us will be overwhelmed and say, I don't know how to do this. Yeah, I know. I mean, Sara Brennan is designing my new workspace for me. And it was so funny. It came up because I'm not without skills here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in the industry for 40 years. Now, I'm not an interior designer, but, I play one on TV. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've had enough conversations, been in enough situations. And of course, I have Kimberly, who is a designer, but she's so busy at WindowWorks. And I rent the space and, a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and I'm on the phone with her. We're chit-chatting, and all of a sudden she's like, what are you doing today? I said, I don't know. I'm looking at Pinterest for the 90th time. And she's like, what are you on Pinterest for? I'm like, I got to find a desk. I got to find a conference table. She's like, and she just didn't say anything. And then like a week or so later, she was like, are you still down in a Pinterest hole? I'm like, yes. She's like, would you let me do this for you? I'm like, yes, I would. So I'm like, went in on her services, looked at her packages. I'm like, I'll take that package. Here's my check. I'm putting it in the mail.
Done.
Happy to do it. I mean, and it's like, and it's done. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's done now.
She didn't assume that you wouldn't hire her.
That's right.
She offered the service.
That's right. It's so true. She, you know what? And she didn't say, I'll do it for you for free. She shouldn't. She knows I would smack her if she did. Come on. This is what you do for a living,
Exactly.
So, yeah, no, I love it. So such good advice, Wendy. I mean, my God, I am just so thrilled for you. This is not relevant to anything, but I'm curious. Does your husband, you have 5 siblings, 6 siblings, are your friends, are they aware and do they see this transformation in you as a business owner?
my husband definitely does, because my husband has always owned his own business, and now he comes to me asking for business advice, and I'll say to him, "You need to do this," and he'll come back and say, "That worked." I said, "Yeah."
You're gonna have to coach him, Wendy. Charge him.
Right. And my son actually has just started his own business. He does custom car interiors, actually, on hot rods, and he started his own business. And he listens to podcasts, but he listens to all those car podcasts, right? Yes. So I said to him, "You know that I'm on the podcast that I listen to all the time?" And he was actually impressed by that. But yeah, I give him advice too. Like, this is what you need to charge. You need to charge more. Right. How much are you charging per hour? The guys that are looking for that custom interior are willing to pay more.
That's right.
All that same advice.
Well, yep. and by the way, how emotional is somebody's custom car? I mean, right. That's when I was in high school, that was a big thing. The guys that I went to high school with, and the one guy that I dated in high school, he had a GTO. And I'm going to tell you what, there were times I wasn't sure who he loved more, me or that GTO.
Right.
It's an emotional thing. It's very attached to pride, and usually guys that are into cars, they've built their own cars, they've worked on the engines, and so that's a perfect extension of, don't you want it to be the best,
Exactly. Yep. I mean, he does 40s and 50s hot rods. He did one that was on the cover of Hot Rod magazine. He's very talented.
Wow. Isn't that exciting?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And, before I let you go, we have to talk about what you and Debbie Daly and Marianne Cherico have been doing. That's a whole nother layer to your business, Wendy. Tell us about that.
New ladder of services for that, too.
Exactly.
Long story short, Debbie and Marianne and I had a lunch last year, and it ended up being a 3-hour lunch instead. And we started the Design for Today Collaborative, which is, we do in-person workshops at the Boston Design Center and other places in New England. And then we have recordings of those workshops that we also sell. But it started out as a way to keep designers who have been in the business forever, keep them up to date on things like technology and websites and social media and things like that. But it has really grown into a great tribe, because Marianne does staging coaching. So it's a great group of designers and stagers, and we have a growing Facebook group for that, Design for Today Collaborative. So it's really a growing thing, and it's fun, and we love the tribe that we're creating in that as well.
And what I've noticed is that there is not that it doesn't exclude business advice, and that's included, but it does lean more into tactical advice for designers. I noticed, you have modules on sourcing and how to shop the design center and how to establish your vendor relationships, things that designers, when they're starting out, need to know, right?
Right. Exactly. And honestly, we get our workshop ideas from the people that come to the workshops.
The things they want to know.
Yeah. They're like, well, how do you do social media? So then we ended up doing one on social media. And what do you put in your contract? So we end up doing one about contracts. So it's really comes from what they're asking for. And the thing that I like about it is we called it the collaborative, because it's really a collaboration. We have people in there that are new, people that have been designers for 40 years. And when we're doing the workshops, we encourage people for lack of a better word, it's not the audience, but the people that are attending, to share their expertise as well. So it's really a collaboration.
Right. It's like a think tank.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we share great information, but they have great information that we welcome them to share as well.
Well, and I could see that if you're, like you mentioned, 40 years in business, so maybe you might have these 3 things locked down, but maybe you don't understand Instagram and how to utilize that and to work in your benefit, right?
Right. I mean, there are people that have been designers for 40 years that don't have a website.
Yes.
Or a contract.
Whoa.
Yes,
I can see not a website, not a contract.
I'm telling you it's true.
Wow.
From personal experience.
Wow.
Yes. From them telling me that. So
that's interesting.
You'd be surprised.
Yes. That's interesting. And then the next thing is, and do they fight you on it and say, I've gone 40 years without it, why do I need it? Or they're coming and asking about it because there's finally been the problem.
Right. They're
Yes.
coming and asking about it.
Yeah. Now it's crazy. Well, you have to protect yourself. So it's silly not to have it done up front. So
I'm hoping the people that came to that workshop have one now. I'm going to check.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Wendy, I just love talking with you. Any opportunity I get in real life, online, and through Skype for my podcast, you are just something else. And it just really is so clear to me, the journey that your business has taken. And I have to tell you, I don't want you to take this any way other than a major, major compliment. Even your whole persona, your whole everything, just the up level of confidence in what you are putting out there is noticeably different. And I just congratulate you on what I know has been a tremendous amount of dedication and hard work in the background to be able to, wear that proudly, just own that your Sandra Funk stand in your space feeling, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it has been a journey. And I thank you for all the information that you've shared to help me on that journey.
Well, I'm happy to do it. So, so I have to say, guys, one of the things that it comes through to me on Wendy's conversation today is you notice there's two recurring things to me. One recurring thing is that Wendy is consistently seeking out other people to help her, whether that is collaborating with her peers or it is hiring coaches and attending events that, cost money to go to. But she's always investing in her business. And that has paid off in spades for her. But the second quality that I notice is that she does take the information that she's paid for or that she's come by through collaboration and puts it into practice. It doesn't stay in a notebook. And that is the key. And even if you only can do what's available to you free, this podcast, or other podcasts like Michelle Williams' podcast or Darla's podcast, if that's the only thing you can do, then do that, but then do the work with the notes that you took. And when you have the funds, you should always be investing in your business so that you learn the things that you don't know and you learn the skill sets from people like Nancy Gansikaufer and Ashley Uhl and Kay Whitaker and Nicole Heimer that Wendy has worked with here to help her improve her business. So, and don't forget, we've got our sponsor article.com so that you can join and open up your own trade account. Go to welldesigned.article.com. That's welldesigned.article.com. And there you will be able to work with the trade department that is run, I always say it all the time, it's run by an interior designer. And that part is the little nuance of, the interior designer understands your business. I love the outside view on a business always, but that inside view has got to be understood too. What do we joke about? There are furniture emergencies, and who else but an interior designer to understand I have a furniture emergency. And at Article, they understand what you go through and how you operate your business, and they're very equipped to support you in that. So that's welldesigned.article.com. Alrighty, so we talked about a lot of shows and a lot of guests today. Please go to the show notes for those episodes. They'll all be there. And if you have learned something from being on a Power Talk Friday tour or at LuAnn Live, you know that I would love to hear from you. And if you're intrigued about Power Talk Friday, then go to powertalkfriday.com and you can find out when we are doing the next one. Because of the recent events of COVID-19, I am now doing these virtually. So we are organizing the next one. It's coming up April 24th, 2020. powertalkfriday.com. All right, guys, you got to make a decision, and I hope that you decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.